Hey everyone, hope everyone's doing well and the panels and talks have been useful so far. My name is Aadit. I write Neatprompts and we talk about the latest AI trends, tools, and use cases to make your workflows more efficient. Over the last year, about 100 million people have seen my content, and today what I want to talk about is how we can become better AI collaborators, how prompting is the new programming. So to get started, I'd like to just do a quick survey. Can you please raise your hand if about like 10% or more of your code is written by AI today? Amazing, awesome. So that's good. People are already using AI, makes sense. What about if you raise that to 30%? OK, still quite a few. I mean, a lot of hands going down, but quite a few hands up. OK. And what about 95% of your code being written by AI? I see one hand back there, which is awesome. Cool. OK. So just for context, here's some benchmarks. There was a conversation between Satya Nadella and Mark Zuckerberg recently, just a few days ago, where Satya said that 30% of all Microsoft code is written by AI today for them, which it was just astonishing, because the fact that at such an enterprise level, more than 10% of the code being written by AI is absolutely shocking in my opinion. And then the second person over there is Gary Tan. I don't know how many people know Y Combinator, but Y Combinator, arguably the most successful startup accelerator in the world, funded companies like OpenAI, Airbnb, and he said that a quarter of the YC startups that they funded have 95% of their code written by AI. So these are just two data points to compare. You know, when you raised your hand, when you didn't raise your hand, just for showing that everyone from startups to enterprises are starting to adopt AI in their code generation. This is me building a few years ago. I was trying to build an expense management platform on the Android platform. And I remember how it was. It was essentially 10+ Stack Overflows tabs at any point in time, doing everything manually, writing functions manually, creating the layouts. And fast forward to today, this wasn't even that long ago. Like, you had to, even 2 years ago, that was how you were building. And today we have tools like replit, lovable, cursor, which I'm sure other people have been talking about as well over here. But a lot of it has moved to natural language commands. I'm sure a lot of people over here are familiar with Andrej Karpathy, right? He was previously director of AI at Tesla, also one of the co-founders of OpenAI. And he mentioned in 2023, he said that the newest, the hottest programming language is English. And that was in 2023. I believe in 2024 and 2025, it's truer than ever. Amazing. I'd love to cover some tools and resources will come later as well, but the latest tools, I believe over here, most probably everyone has heard of Cursor and Windsurf, which are essentially just like we used to use VS Code before. Now it's a forked version of VS Code with an AI panel on the side, so you can chat just like you chat in ChatGPT, and yeah, you're able to get functions, you're able to get code relatively easily. Now they have more agentic capabilities, so they're actually able to replace the relevant contexts. But yeah, they essentially have the chat panel, which is extremely useful, and I'm sure most of you over here have already used those platforms. Then there are two other categories that I'd say. One is AI prototyping, and one is AI coding assistance. My favorite AI prototyping tool is Lovable. It's a great way to just like quickly create user flows, workflows. Let's say you're getting some user feedback and you just want to like visualize what this would look like. Lovable is the best way to do that, in my opinion. And AI coding assistant, if you want to generate full stack code, Replit does have great AI like agentic capabilities. So I'd highly recommend using Replit as well if you want to like get into the code, understand it fundamentally, and want to build something that you can deploy through Replit as well. So if we're saying that the hottest programming language is prompting, right? Let's talk a little bit about my favorite prompting techniques. The first one is chain of thought reasoning. I think a lot of people over here might know DeepSeek. DeepSeek was one of the first companies to actually show the user in their product what the model is thinking and how it's thinking things through. right? I think a lot of the other tools are now, adopting that same functionality. But what I would highly recommend doing in Cursor or Windsurf or any of these tools is to ask the model, right, to share their chain of thought reasoning. So you can understand fundamentally how are they thinking about this, what is their logical reasoning, how do they think about certain features, and what to prioritize building. That's the first one. The second one that I feel not a lot of people are actually utilizing is something called Cursor rules, right? Cursor rules or Windsurf, they have this section where if you find yourself repeatedly asking for a certain tone, a certain format, or repeatedly asking for something, then what you can do, just like in ChatGPT, you're able to go to custom instructions, or you're able to create a custom GPT so that it can do some things repeatedly or has specific context. You're able to do the same thing in Cursor. So highly recommend using Cursor rules or the equivalent in your IDE to make sure that you're getting the most out of your prompts. Let's talk about the smartest models and some agentic, like other coding agents as well. So my personal favorite is the Claude 3.7 Sonnet. I've tried all of them, and what I would advise over here is to try all of them whenever you get the time and when new ones drop. So let's say every 4 weeks at this point, every 4 to 5 weeks, a new model is dropping, and what happens is it's throwing the other benchmarks. It's just topping all the other benchmarks. So it's definitely worth spending maybe a couple hours just testing, switching the model and seeing, are you getting better responses, are you getting similar responses, or are you getting worse responses, and then essentially identify which one would be the best for you to adopt. Also, Cursor recently shared their most popular models and the fastest growing ones, and I'm not surprised at all that 3.7 Sonnet and 2.5 Pro from Gemini are the most popular ones. Another thing that I want to talk about is Devin, actually. So Devin is probably the closest thing to a true agentic coding experience that I've seen. It is in a different category to the replits, to the bolts. It's in a different category because of its pricing. Like replit bolt will probably be in the $20 to $50 a month range, whereas Devin is in the $500 a month range. But essentially, how it works is you can invite it into your Slack wherever you work, just like a peer, right? Like you have your peers in Slack. You can talk to Devin. You can ask it to debug something. You can ask it to build a certain feature, and it also has the ability to push to GitHub if you want. That's the truest kind of peer, something that reflects like working with a peer. And just last resource that I want to share on this topic is the practical guide to building agents from OpenAI. It's a short read, but definitely worth it. Let's talk about some real use cases and some real effects. That's I think extremely important. We talk about these tools, but who's actually using them and how is it affecting their business? So one example that I want to give is Sahil Lavingia. Some of you might know him from Twitter, but he runs Gumroad, which does about $20 million a year. Relatively lean company, and he recently tweeted that Devin is their most productive engineer in terms of PRs merged, right? So, just the highest number of PRs merged, and I think they have like 7, 8 on that graph on the top left, 7, 8 engineers, and Devin was the most productive one. Or another example is a friend of mine, Alex Finn. He's a non-technical builder, not exactly a traditional programmer, but he recently picked up to solve problems for Twitter creators, and he's now built a business that's doing about $300,000 in ARR just within 6 months, not even 6 months, right? And fully used Cursor and Windsurf to actually build out the product, and he's extremely just focused on solving customer problems, right? Like, is he using AI to build the product, or is he building the product himself? He doesn't really care much about it. Just as long as the customer's problems are being resolved, that's his main focus. And one other quote that I want to share is from Simon Willison, who's this AI researcher. He said that now I can ship things I wouldn't normally have time for, right? So I'm sure on a weekly basis, we get these ideas for extensions or scripts or little apps that we want to create. And we just could never justify spending days or weeks on it, right? It could be a small quality of life upgrade. But now with AI, we're actually able to justify spending those hours or maybe a couple of days to build it out to make our lives a little bit better. So I think they have real use cases and in businesses and even in personal projects. I find that even myself, where my job is to keep a track on what's going on in AI, I find it difficult. So I can't even imagine like what's it like to actually keep track on a daily basis. So here's just a few strategies on staying updated. And the first piece of advice that I would give is to follow builders like Sahil Lavingia, we give an example, or Simon Willison, or I'm sure everyone over here knows Andre Karpathy, previously director of AI at Tesla. Yeah, I'd follow builders because they're usually, I would say, 4 to 8 weeks or even more than that ahead of the larger tech media outlets. So if you really want to stay ahead of the curve, follow their blogs, follow Reddit, follow Twitter, follow Hacker News. These are the kind of 4 resources I would use to just stay ahead of the curve, because these are the folks that were using GPT-2, GPT-3 before ChatGPT was even a thing. So this is the best way to kind of stay updated from a technical point of view. And then try to curate your resources, right? So if you're looking at newsletters, don't try to like go into the abyss with social media, because there'll be a lot of other kinds of content that's also coming. So if you're focusing on newsletters, podcasts, some of my favorite podcasts, Lex Fridman has a few AI episodes. Dwarkesh Patel has a very deeply technical podcast, long ones, like 2 hours, 3 hours. So if you have the time, I'd highly recommend those 2. And I think the best way to learn is actually by doing. So if you can spend an hour, 2 hours playing around with these tools that we talked about, I think there's no better way to learn. Let's talk a little bit about how we're developing and how the role is developing. I think the most important thing, in fact, Shopify's CEO recently, he said it in an internal memo, someone leaked it, but what he said was that those that will use AI will significantly outperform the ones that do not. And essentially his point was that everyone here should be using AI, right? That was his point. And what that reminded me of is like 25 years ago, what was extremely important is, did you know how to use Microsoft Excel? Did you know how to use PowerPoint, right? Those were actual skills that would help you demand a higher pay. That would actually make you more valuable in the marketplace. And that is exactly what is happening today with AI, right? Do you know what are the best prototyping tools? Do you know what are the best designing tools? Do you know what's the best AI coding agent, right? Because if you do, you become a better AI collaborator and become more valuable to a business. So I think that's how our role is evolving. And the reasons why developers still win, I believe, is that the engineering mindset is extremely valuable, right? In fact, I read this somewhere, where in the age of AI, the 2 most important things are courage and the ability to not get bored, right? Because AI will do what you're telling it to do, but it's not going to go out there and solve all the problems in the world, right? Humans will still have to be able to do that. So that's what an engineer does. An engineer is very good at finding a problem, breaking it down to small pieces, and then finding a solution to build it. Now, is that with AI? Is that not with AI? It doesn't matter to the engineer. All that matters is like, what's the most efficient way to solve that problem? And as long as that mindset is still like core to a developer and an engineer, I think developers still end up winning. So just here's the last slide, some resources that I talked about in this presentation. I believe this is going to be shared to you later, but yeah, I hope I've made my point clear, which is today is the best time to be a builder, and I hope I left you inspired to build further. Thank you.